Geek Out! Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
And I'm the devil. Now kindly undo these straps.
If you're the devil, why not make the straps disappear?
That's much too vulgar display of power, Karis.
You know what does have the devil?
What?
Rock Candy Mountain by Kyle Starks.
It does.
Ooh.
And you know who's going to be on the show?
The devil.
Yeah, nobody is well, probably. But I was going to say nobody associated with The Exorcist, but we got Kyle Starks
Ooh.
to talk about Rock Candy Mountain. Yeah.
Delightful.
And it's a delightful chat.
Yeah.
There's very little Satan in that.
Yes.
I mean, some.
We mention it.
Yeah. But without much further ado, let's get all hobo up in here. And joining us this week, we've got Kyle Starks. His new Image comic series, Rock Candy Mountain, comes out in comic book shops everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, April 5th. He's also the creator of Sexcastle, which is a fond favorite of the Geek Out crew. So, Kyle, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm super stoked to be here.
Awesome. So
I like that Sexcastle shout out too. We like to say the Eisner-nominated Sexcastle.
Ooh.
Even better.
what's the? I mean, we'll get into Rock Candy, but since we're on the Sexcastle kick, what's the status of the cinematic adaptation of Sexcastle?
I don't know. In December, they were writing, like, the script was supposed to be near done. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm super super lucky because I'm way farther ahead than 99% of anybody ever will be. But I don't know anything that's going on. I've kind of reached the point, like, I don't even really ask. But last time I asked was December, and they're like, the script is supposed to be here any day. Well, it's March. Welcome to Hollywood. Welcome to Hollywood, fellas.
Yeah, a lot of hurry up and wait, but something you don't have.
And you know what? I got to hurry up real early. So, but those dudes, the Workaholics, just finished their last season. So I think the Russos are doing the Infinity War movies right now.
Yeah.
Or the Avengers. The Avengers, I don't know. Yeah, the Infinity War movies. So, maybe they're waiting till after. I don't know. Let's hope like in a month, right?
Yeah, and I think they're also
there's like a hot trailer drops.
Yeah. I think they're adapting Deadly Class for television as well. So the Russos apparently just don't sleep or something.
Well, they're producing. I mean, I say that like anyone knows really what producing is, but I think they don't need to be there at the scene of the crime. They're just like, here's some money. Don't goof it up. We want it like this. They probably show up every now and then to make sure everyone's got clothes on if it's a movie that has people's clothes on, off if it's a movie with people's clothes off, whichever the case might be.
Yeah.
Check to make sure the aliens look like the right kind of aliens.
Well, I mean,
I don't know what producers do.
Yeah.
They produced Drillbit Taylor, right? Have you seen Drillbit Taylor with Owen Wilson?
Yeah, where it's like, yeah. He
How much work went into that? You know what I'm saying?
Didn't get that.
Not from Owen Wilson.
Yeah, not Owen Wilson's best work, but I'm gonna tell you, early that's when Owen Wilson still had his charm. So. Yeah. Not a bad era for Owen Wilson movies.
Yeah, I think he was fresh off like You, Me, and Dupree, so it was a good time to be Owen.
Yeah, it was before like he is like post Zoolander, pre Wedding Crashers. Like he's still doing it.
Yeah,
he hasn't yet just like flipped out and got real sad, I think. And then he made that one movie where he was jumping around the Middle East, and I hear it was very good, but I didn't see it because he burnt the Kyle Starks bridge. Sorry, Owen. No, I'm just kidding. I love Owen Wilson. I really do. Owen Wilson's one of my favorite. Him and Oliver Platt, they're my two favorite actors of all time.
Oh.
I don't know if that's true. I do like Oliver Platt a lot too, though.
I love it whenever he showed up on The West Wing.
I love it. I love it when he shows up at anything. He's at some show my wife watched. He's a regular on it. He plays like some sort of like maternal psychiatrist at an ER maybe. My wife watches it every week, and I hate my wife watches bad. I'm turning it down just a little bit here. Wife watches some pretty bad television, but the one with Oliver Platt on it's kind of okay because it's got Oliver Platt on it. She watches another show that's identical to that show in every way, but instead of Oliver Platt being the centerpiece, the Latino guy from Boogie Nights.
Luis Guzman.
Luis Guzman plays the head nurse. And that's good because of Luis Guzman.
Oh, he's the fucking funniest guy.
It's so funny. In this one, he plays like a very sweet man. Like, he's not funny at all. He's very sweet and serious, and he takes care of all the nurses and the sick babies.
Oh, he's so funny.
I like it when he randomly shows up in the Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel. He's like the ex-prisoner manservant guy, and he's just like, "Why are you here?" But it's awesome.
Yeah, I like his deleted scene in Boogie Nights when you find out why he's not in a porno, because he's like, "I got a small dick, man.
Oh, yeah,
I got a
small,
small
yeah.
dick." That shit's hilarious.
I love both of those guys. Both of those guys are good. You know what I love? I love a good like character actor, like a Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah.
You know, like Philip Seymour Hoffman was my favorite, and then he started getting real roles, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I'm proud for your success. I'm really stoked for your success, bud. Yeah. But I kind of liked it when you were just like, you know, the thing that made the movie good in the background.
Were you like that with John C. Reilly before he blew up?
I don't remember. I mean, John C. Reilly was always kind of a supporting actor,
Yeah.
and not like he
Well, I
wasn't
guess
the guy
comedy. He like really
Twister who was like, yeah.
He for a long time he was just Will Ferrell's best friend.
A lot of words in movies. John C. Reilly was allowed to speak like right out the gate.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm just thinking of Boogie Nights. Everyone you're saying is in Boogie Nights, basically, which is
yeah. I think they're all. I think they're also are all in Twister too. I'm just kidding. I'm totally goofing.
But Twister, great movie.
It would be great if you guys were like, hold on. You turn on Twister. It's like, hold on. Philip Seymour Hoffman, check.
Yeah.
Reese Guzman, check. Oliver Platt, what? He's the actual tornado. He's the voice of the tornado.
Yeah, the voice of the tornado.
They got Oliver Platt to come in and go.
But only for the F5.
Only for the F5. Yeah, he deserves the F5 and nothing less.
So let's go ahead and.
Long story short, I don't know what's going on with the movie. I hope it happens soon. I hope it's like people are. I hope it's the new John Wick.
Oh yeah,
it's like John Wick 3, but funny. That's what I'm hoping for.
And Oliver Platt stars.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Like they asked, I'm gonna do. We'll do a sec. I told you guys like if you say the right sequence of words, I'll go off. So my agent's like, I love my agent. My agent's the best guy. I also get to say I love my agent, which is pretty cool. Like as a rule. But like, so it's crazy. I have an agent. That's neither here nor there. But I love my agent. He's the best. But sometimes he's like, he lives in Hollywood, so he's a little bit Hollywood, right? So when he was first like, he's like, yeah, we're gonna shop it around. And Ben Stiller across the hall, and Jack Black down the hall, and Shane Black. And I was like, who's Shane Black? He's like, well, he did a little independent movie you may have heard of called Iron Man 3. He's real funny, right? But I was like, you know who would be good? You know what would be good would be Terry Crews. Can we get Terry Crews in this movie? Because Terry Crews is good in everything.
Yeah.
And apparently my agent he used to have to I hope I don't get in trouble for telling the story. It's someone else's story. He's cool with Terry Crews. I just realized I shouldn't tell that story. Anyway, Terry, he wasn't like, of all the people, anyone in Hollywood, the one person who he wasn't like wildly stoked about was Terry Crews, which is funny. It's like the one guy I was like, you know, who would be good. And he's like, yeah, I don't love that guy. He's not my favorite human on the planet. I'm like, oh, okay. So no one Terry Crews. Can we please get Terry Crews in the movie? He'd be great. He'd be perfect.
Well, the cool thing about Sexcastle is you've got like all the 80s guys. You've got like the Mr. T analog, the Schwarzenegger analog, the Van Damme twins. You know, you've got everybody. And part of me, it's like the Expendables if all the Expendables were like truly expendable. Like they all go out hard.
It's like the Expendables, but half of them are already dead. Woof.
And between this and Rock Candy Mountain, to tie it into the book, you use some of my favorite action onomatopoeia ever. Like I remember there's like one scene in Sexcastle where a dude gets like kicked in the nuts and it just says fucked, and it's just like, oh, this is perfect. You know, and you kind of got that with the, I mean, what was okay, let's do the big question. Why hobos?
Man, so I would say the story came first. The idea of what I wanted to do, I should back up. What a bunch of false starts I just did. So after Sexcastle was my homage to 80s action movies. I just finished a book called Kill Them All, which I did a Kickstarter for, which is going to be reprinted by Oni this year, bigger and in color, which is very exciting. Kill Them All was so after Sexcastle, I was watching a bunch of old John Woo movies because I love like the Asian John Woo movies. They're delicious. Killer had been like unavailable for years, and like suddenly it was available. I think Criterion lost the rights or something. Anyway, blah blah blah. So I was watching these John Woo movies, and that's why I did Kill Them All, is because I was way into these John Woo movies, and that led me into watching a ton of like actual martial arts movies. and I had discovered a genre of martial arts movies called wuxia films, which are kind of these, like the ones that I saw were all sort of these like epic journeys, are people going on some big adventure to do a bunch of fighting, and there was almost always like some element of supernatural to them. And I couldn't think of what the American wuxia book, movie, anything was, right? And I was like, well, what would that be? And the more I thought about it, at the time I'd actually been reading about hobos apropos of nothing. I think it's a really fascinating community and culture with a lot of rich history, especially if you're talking like, the 1890s to the 1950s, say, though the Vietnam War was like critical sort of to the hobo movement too, because it was still like it's kind of like the last gasp of the hobo community, even though it still existed today. But it all sort of just came together like, oh, like I went this journey across America, and post World War II was like, it was like the sun coming back on America, and it was really sort of the point. I think as a really terrible person when it comes to history, it feels like sort of the moment where America became great to me. So it just like the sun's rising, and also like I couldn't use ninjas like they use in martial arts movies. So I was like, what's as good as a ninja? Pirates? Come on. No one wants that. Cowboys? Nah, I don't want to do a cowboy book. They don't have like phones. Like they don't have like, I don't know if there's running water in a cowboy story. Like there's a lot of details I just don't know anything about. And then I just thought, man, like there's not very much hobo stuff done, and I feel like it's a real interesting archetype. And I thought sort of all the pieces sort of came together,
There are two items of hobo fiction that I have to ask if you've indulged in or familiar with. The first one is the epic list of hobo names within John Hodgman's Areas of My Expertise.
I know it. Yep.
Cool.
I'm gonna tell you. I don't love it.
Really?
Oh. I don't love it. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why, and I know that I'm in the minority here. When I started doing this, I was like, I'm doing this hobo book. Someone was like, "Are you going to give them all them silly names?" Like, no, man. I'm probably going to kind of stick to. I'm going to tell you, there's some silly ass names in there because it's really an opportunity. No, you'd be a fool to pass up on. But the thing with the hobo community, the thing to me is like there's sort of two sort of like broad stereotypes for what a hobo is. Both of them involve like a half-eaten can of beans, and like shoes. And like the fact, like that, look, I get it, that's fine. But realistically, hobos were migratory workers. They were usually ex-veterans who were working. They were workers. They weren't homeless people. They chose to sort of not be burdened by homes. So I feel like stuff like that is kind of a cheap shot. Now, that being said, if it was like the 300 tramp names, I would probably think it was funnier. But now I have like this awesome like, hobo protective, like I got to take care of the hobos. It's like no one gave them a fair shake.
I can't get over the last gasp of the hobo. That sounds like the best Jethro Tull album of all time.
That's volume 3.
Yes, the last gasp of the hobo.
Yeah. I think
so good.
I think now that I don't know, I think there was a point like you think like during the Depression, people had to leave to go just do anything, right? Mm-hmm. You had to travel to get work because there was no work anywhere. So you're like, you have to go like 300 miles to find an orchard that'll give you like a bag full of dust, I assume. I think everyone just ate dust during the Great Depression.
It's the Dust Bowl.
It was a Dust Bowl, exactly right. You put it in your bowl when you came home and you ate it. So like from that point on, it sort of became like that was a way to make a living. And I think, once you get past the 70s, like it didn't have to be that way. Like there was other ways to, like transportation was so great. There were everything changed. So I think it kind of lost the magic that it had, or the necessity, depending on what area you're looking at. So I think it lost magic, but I think I think America lost its magic in the 80s. Once they started doing neon, man, it was the end of days. I don't know.
The big shoulders and everything.
Oh my gosh, you can't be a hobo in those shoulder blades. Maybe you try to jump that train, you're gonna get your biker shorts stuck in the wheels. Like, oh my god, my giant sneakers.
Hobo.
The Hall & Oates length hair just caught.
Hall & Hobo.
Yeah. The other item of
the
item of hobo related fiction is the film Lee Marvin, Ernest Borgnine film Emperor of the North.
Emperor of the North. I have seen the Emperor of the North several times. I have like sort of a major bull villain, and I've been going back and forth on whether or not to base him on Ernest Borgnine. I haven't decided, but I'll tell you, Jackson, who's my protagonist, is loosely based on Lee Marvin. That's not accidental. And there's another hobo that I thought you were going to ask me about this one I just heard about. And I've done a lot of research, and you might be surprised. There's not a lot of hobo information out there. They were apparently private people, and the ones who weren't private, no one cared about. So
they didn't last.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of asking or telling, apparently. So there's not a whole lot of information out there for. So I read a ton, and I just found out a movie called Sullivan's Travels, which apparently has a pretty big hobo. So that's on my list. I got to see this movie because there's like nothing. There's no hobo stuff out there. I'm going to start the hobo trend. I just watched like in 4 years it'll be like DC Comics Super Hobo Man, and you'll be like, Kyle Starks, do you get any of that? Kyle Starks is getting none of that. Look at it. It's part 4 of the epic hobo films, Game of Hobos. Kyle Starks, that's all because of you, Game of Hobos. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting nothing. Game of nothing.
Crisis on Infinite Hobos.
Oh, yeah.
That's volume 4. Don't take that. That's volume 4.
The Infinity Hobo.
That is somebody else's.
That's NDA'd up the wazoo. We can,
Well, the big one is a hobo with a shotgun, right?
Here's the thing. Okay, so here's the thing. Hobo with a Shotgun is literally a movie about. Now I watched it, and when I say watched, I mean I had it on. And I think I fell asleep, but it's really about a homeless guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a use of that. The thing is, the word hobo very specifically represents a certain thing. It's a migratory worker who rode the trail. Like it's a very specific thing. And almost any hobo literature you read, of which again I'd like to point out, there's not that much. Almost anyone will be like
secretive.
Like the hobos are not going to have it. Like if you are homeless, you're a bum. If you ride the trains but you don't work, you're a tramp. A hobo is like I said, it's generally it's a migratory worker. A lot of the times it was vets. It was war vets. It's like those dudes are just trying to make some cash but not have to hang out. Like, let's go work at this orchard for 3 months. Cool. Let's go dig some ditches. Cool. I mean, it's so, to me, like in my head, I think about it and it's like, I think about that hobo like sitting on top of the boxcar and it's like going, through like Portland or past the Portland forest, and the sun's coming up. Like think about how like majestic that is, but also think about how no one liked a vagrant and anyone would have killed that guy and he slept on metal, dirty metal. Like you kind of get both sides, right? Like it's so free, but also like super terrifying.
That's true. I mean,
I ruined the fun, didn't I?
No, well, I mean, I'm trying to think what is your obviously you have it in the book too, but like if in terms of like fashion, what's because this may be more on the homeless trend, which I don't want to offend the hobo community, but the fingerless gloves I feel like is like hobo big time. Is that?
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty stereotypical.
Yeah.
So like as I said, the thing is, there's even fewer pictures, but almost always like a picture of a hobo from like 1940s is a guy in like a suit.
Yeah.
Like it's because here's the thing, which is difficult to remember, and I kind of don't do it, which is just that's a creative license. In like the 30s, late 20s, early 30s, 40s, like a dude had to have a hat on. Like if you went outside your house, you had to put a hat on. That was just how it was. Like you can't put on a fedora and not have and look like garbage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like all those dudes look pretty good. They got their suit jackets, they got their dress shoes and their fedoras on, white button-up shirts. I mean, I'm sure they don't smell great.
I feel like there's
great. They can't.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a challenge to the fedora movement. Like have fedoras been co-opted by?
Oh yeah, it's donezo, buddy. It's gonna take like World War III and all of us being hobos and being like, we just gotta keep our heads covered, bud, to bring that out. Yeah, those dudes ruined fedoras for everybody. Here's like all those MRAs are gonna keel over, and when they show up on the other side, Frank Sinatra's gonna be standing there with some brass knuckles. And him and the Rat Pack, and they're gonna be like, you guys screwed it up for everybody.
My way.
That's volume 5. That's volume 5. Frank Sinatra's Revenge.
That's when you bring in Von Ryan's Express.
So it all happens.
That's where it all ties in. But
these are going to be the future stories, and we're going to get no credit.
They're going to be like, did you get anything for that? He talked about it on your show. We got nothing.
Nothing.
Starts with Stone Cold. He knows how the game's played.
He doesn't even. He deleted me on Skype. He doesn't return Sam's emails anymore.
I'm ready. Ready right now.
He's got the block button ready.
You're lucky this conversation's still going.
So
any moment's a burn notice for me when it comes to these things. Is that right? I don't know if that context is right. My wife watched that show too.
It sounded good. It sounded good.
Yeah, but it doesn't have Oliver Platt. It has. Yeah, it does
It had
have
Bruce Campbell.
It had Bruce Campbell in it, which again, a great supporting actor.
That's like you're assembling like the Avengers of like character actors.
I've thought about it. There's someone who I like. I had like Tony Shalhoub, Oliver Platt, Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's a money group right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fourth one, Luis Guzman. Like obviously he's in there.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But
there's another dude who's like, I can't think of who he is right now, and it's gonna come up by the end. I'll be like, oh yeah, right. I'm gonna slam the table.
Brian Dennehy.
Yell his name. I'm gonna yell his name, and he's gonna call me.
William H. Macy.
Ooh, William H. Macy. I mean, he's done good for himself too, though.
Yeah, he does. He is.
I was like, if you're like character like Fargo, I don't know, Boogie Nights too, right?
Boogie Nights.
All comes back to Boogie Nights.
And Twister. Probably not.
Nah.
No.
Hold on, is William H. Macy in Twister? Let me think.
I'm pretty sure he's not. Is he?
No, he drives the other van. I'm making a face, guys. I'm fucking with you. I don't think that's funny.
It's been a while since I've seen Twister.
Yeah,
Oddly enough, the last time I saw it was in a theater, not even a year ago.
Oh.
I think they showed it on TNT maybe, like 700 times one summer.
I own it on DVD, but it's still in the original plastic. I just bought it on DVD because it was the first Hollywood movie ever put on DVD, and I was like, oh, that means something. And then I never watched it.
It's a collector's item.
Yeah, exactly.
What you don't know about Chris is he actually has a quite extensive Laserdisc collection.
That too, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the Laserdisc.
Ooh.
No, we don't.
Oh.
I used to work at when I was a teenage boy. I worked at it's mouthy. I worked at a comic book store / used book / used music / baseball card / some porn / video rental store.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of your pop culture genres together.
Yeah.
And there was like that 3 months where the guy who ordered all the movies, who still works there by the way, it was like we're gonna sell these. We're gonna get these Laserdiscs out. I'm gonna tell you, this was not the nice side of town. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, what is that? Like, you're never gonna sell those. I think he just took them home. It's like it ended up being like some sort of light scam on his part. Get all the Laserdiscs he could of like bad 1994 movies. I mean, great 94 movies. They were all good. I challenge anyone to name one bad 1994 movie. That's right. No one can do it. I'm going to get so many shitty tweets now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the year that like Jurassic Park and
Jurassic Park's
93,
but 94 you've got like I feel like is that when Dunstan Checks In comes out?
I own that on VHS.
Yeah.
I think Mortal Kombat. Not trying to say bad. I love Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
I'm actually looking through the list of 94 movies, and I was such peak teenage. I'm like, no, these are all good.
For us, that's 89.
89 is our
1989 is a damn good year.
Man, 89 is a good year. Yeah,
it's
that's
a
like
great
a good year. This 94 hat is the year that Forrest Gump won Best Film. So you know, like
I have that on Laserdisc.
Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption, Professional. Yeah. Here's what I'm saying though: these movies are good, and I don't want those. I want the bad movies.
Yeah,
it's not giving me. It's like look, D2, Mighty Ducks 2. Like no, sir.
That's like the best of the series.
Yeah, that's the way it gets good. That's where it gets good.
Pinnacle of the series.
I like all these movies. All right, let's not talk about that.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, I think this happens from jump, so we can kind of go into it. You've got like, is it Hobo Satan or is it just Satan hunting hobos, specifically Jackson?
What you got there is the literal devil.
Okay. There is
like
no,
when people go, the devil. They're talking about that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the literal devil.
And he's hunting for our protagonist. He's hunting for Jackson.
He's looking for Jackson. It's a mystery.
And Jackson, I mean, by all accounts, we're still, early days into the book, but Jackson is maybe a figure of renown within the hobo community.
Yeah, I think the hobo community kind of, there wasn't that many hobos. Like, and I say that, I mean, like, there was more than the city I live in, But I feel like if sort of you're out and about, you all sort of come to know each other. But I think for the most part, he's recognized to be, they're both, Flimbo obviously is the head of the hobo mafia, so very well known. And I said hobo mafia.
It's amazing.
But yeah, I think Jackson he's kind of been doing it for a couple of years hard enough that he's sort of just known. And also, I mean, he's kind of a fight monster. Like, I feel like that's a guy you know.
Yeah, I mean, you have one of my favorite description of a fight uttered by Pomona during the big centerpiece, like, doozy of a Donnybrook within that debut issue. I don't know if I want to spoil it. I'll just say it involves diarrhea.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you, like, my dad could like fix cars.
Yeah.
Like, we used to he'd like, oh, it's a 75 Chrysler. Pop it open and be like, it's fixed. And be like, whoa. And I knew this guy who used to be able to hit like a 15-foot jump shot, like, no matter what. Like 20 foot, but 15 foot was like perfect, right? Always hit it. I'm pretty good at fight jokes.
You're pretty good at fight sequences too. I mean, both.
I love a good fight sequence, man.
Yeah.
You know the thing, the kind of the thing, like, I really wish, like, is that I wish I had. The thing is, this is my first ongoing series. It's my first episodic book. That's mine, because I've been in Rick and Morty for over a year now. But Rick and Morty doesn't have as many punchy punches as I would like for it to have. I'm trying to rectify that in future issues. The next issue I draw brings Tiny Rick back, and there's a fight sequence. It's like 8 pages. I love it.
Tiny Rick.
I love it. So, like, the thing is, like, 22 pages, that's going to set up, a series. It's a lot of exposition, which I don't love. Like, I try to do exposition in a way that's as casual as possible. Like, we're joining this ride, and we're finding out everything the same way everyone else is finding out. And anything they already know, they're not explaining. Like, it just implied, like, this is this. Like, Jackson and Flimbo know each other. There's not like, oh, look, it's Jackson. I remember when I first saw you. Oh boy. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that. I hate it. So, like, I only have, like, 4 or 5 pages for a fight sequence. And when I did Sexcastle and killed them all, I got to do as long as I wanted. Like, there was no page count, I didn't have to pay anyone to color those pages, so I didn't have to factor them in. I didn't have to worry about the cost of printing X number of pages for a monthly book. I didn't have to think about how it's chapters and episodic. So, like, it's super strange for me to go from doing, like, on the reg, like 6 to 8 page fight scenes to having to sort of fit them in. To make up for that, issue 2 is a shit ton of fights.
Well, the way
issue 3 is a fight. Issue 4, yep, a fight. But issue 4 was like, again, like, even Schweitzer was like, I was like, man, I only get like 4 pages for this fight, and he's like, sorry, bud. Like, he knows how sad it makes me to only have 4 pages to do a fight. But I do have every intention of probably issue 6 of being a fight, like 24 pages of fighting. I don't think it's been done recently in a comic. And I think it'll be dope. I'm really excited about it. I wish I could just do fights. I love fights so much. But I also love telling the stories, and it's super important. But man, I love a choreographed fight sequence. I love it in a comic. I love it in film. I love it on TV. I love it in person. Not in person. Please stop, guys. And they're like, it's choreographed. And I'm like, oh, right. Continue for my dancing joy.
What, do you have any favorites? I mean, you were mentioning the wushu stuff earlier, but are there any, like, just brawl, like, is it like Mr. T and Stallone at the end of Rocky 3? Is it They Live? Oh yeah,
the greatest fight scene of all time.
You know what I love about that? I love about that They Live, which is a good one. I love John Carpenter. I mean, I don't know if it doesn't come across, like, me and John Carpenter, like, what genre have I not done yet? Let me do something stupid with it, like me and John Carpenter, right?
Yeah.
But man, my favorite thing about that fight scene is like there's a bit where like they're just slapping each other.
Yeah,
And it's not like oh 1, 2, 3, 4 they slapped each other both like 3 times. Like I bet for like 3 minutes they're just slapping each other.
yeah.
And I love it every time. And I will stop. They Live is like a great opening, kind of an ending, right?
Yeah.
And like you're kind of waiting for that fight scene in the middle. But like the beginning's great, the middle's really good, and then once they get inside like the spaceship, you're like, I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
Now. But man, whenever I see it anywhere, I just like, has the fight scene stopped? Has it got to the fight scene yet?
Yeah.
I love that fight scene. I don't know if that's my favorite. Someone else asked me this. It was like, man, I've been watching action movies since I was too young to be watching action movies. I've seen so many to be like, I really like X, or I mean, like Roadhouse inspired Sexcastle. Famous pro wrestler Terry Funk did the choreography on that movie, which nuts me up. But it's super quote unquote realistic. I just saw John Wick 2, and I was reminded about how great I thought John Wick was, the first one.
Yeah.
But man, I know like if like I really got into it, like every John Woo gun fight sequence it's not like a fight, but still it's like, man, that's what you want from the action sequences, is where you feel like something artful is happening, and it's not just these displays of violence. Because I think personally, a display of violence isn't very enticing. Like I don't like guns. I'm not a gun guy. My dad's an NRA member, blah blah blah. More power to it. It's constitutional, et cetera, et cetera. But when people start talking about it, it makes me uncomfortable. I just did a bunch of research on World War II for this book, and like it makes me wildly uncomfortable. But that being said, you can't have an action movie without some guns, so I love them in my movies.
Have you ever seen the first Iron Monkey film?
I think so, with the mask, right?
Yeah, he's kind of like this like Chinese like Robin Hood, and it's the big bad at the end has like the super sleeves and the Buddha's palm, and
everything's like super heavily like blue saturated. Is that the same movie?
I think there's like, because during the night sequences, but it's what Donnie Yen. It's basically what put Donnie Yen on the map.
I'm like 100% sure I've seen this, because I remember when they tried to release it in America, but it was under a different name, right?
They released it eventually under like, it was still Iron Monkey, but it was executive produced by Quentin Tarantino, who did some shit with it.
I definitely saw it. Yeah, I definitely saw it.
Yeah, I mean that's got probably some of my favorite fight sequences in all of Kung Fu-dom, like over Enter the Dragon. Though I do love the finale.
I'm gonna tell you, I feel like a baby with martial arts movies.
Oh.
Like a lot, like that's because that was the thing, is like I love action movies. I mean, we can talk about, if you want to go down an action movie road, no one wants that. It's not fun for anybody. It's only fun for me.
Let's do it.
What, you've never seen Murphy's Law? Like, oh my gosh, you were talking about Blind Fury. It's my favorite. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants to do that. But so like the thing is, like, man, if you love, my whole thing in my life, and I think it should be the way in everybody's life, and I think for the most part, I bet you guys are totally with me on this, is like, if you love something, you should, if there's more of it, you should seek it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, for example, I'm going to do a brief tirade. I write and occasionally draw the Oni Press spinoff, or not spinoff, but the Oni Press adaptation of the Adult Swim cartoon Rick and Morty. Currently the number 24 best-selling book for February. Thank you very much.
Woo!
Because I'm literally playing it like a harp. I'm a beautiful Rick and Morty baby, and I'm making it. And man, if I watch the show, and I did, and I love Rick and Morty, and I love Rick and Morty. If someone was like, hey man, there's a comic book, I'd be like dropping my stuff, right? If someone was like, hey, the guys who made Goonies made 3 more movies, I'd be like, show me right now, give them to me. If someone was like, hey, did you know that there's a Bollywood version of Die Hard? I would be like, get out of my way, we're going right now. Right?
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting is, like, I sell this Rick and Morty comic book, and people dressed like Rick and Morty just walk right by. Boop, 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 boop. Hey man, you like this? I mean, anyway, so here's my thing. I really like action movies, right? I like big fight sequences. I like sort of ham-fisted morality stories. Why am I not watching martial arts films? So I started watching martial arts films hard, and it was mostly like, I'm going to mess up names, like, you know, like the 5 Venoms. What's the one with the girl that's so good? I watched a million. I mean, I didn't watch a million. I watched all I could, especially anything that was subtitled, which is kind of the hardest part. because like most of everything on Netflix and whatever is dubbed, which is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I also work when I watch movies, so it's like I had to set time. So I watched a bunch. Like that is a genre I wish I could get so much more into. I wish I had the time and the means to be like, I'm a Asian cinema guy now. I love them, but I've only seen like enough that I wouldn't even brag about it.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, within, and let me be your martial arts psychiatrist. Within the martial arts genre, what appeals to you more? Is it, say, the more grindhousey stuff? Is it the kind of the wushu, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like almost like make it a ballet? Is it like John Woo, gun kata?
Yeah. For me personally, it's definitely the John Woo stuff, but I'm trying to expand myself. That's why, like, when I started doing it, like, I had never heard of wuxia. I think I'd seen, of course, Crouching Tiger. And there was another one that I remember seeing that was just like these magical wolves. Just a bunch of magical wolves, man. And then there's like it's snowing, and like a little too artsy for me, but I really like that sort of BPRD, like soft supernatural. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, man, that's great. What's the American equivalent of that? And there isn't one, unless it's hard, like sort of cryptozoology, supernatural stuff, you know? So I kind of like, as soon as I saw 5, I don't know. I told you, like, I'm not going to brag about it. So it's like, if we're talking wrestling and you're like, well, I've never seen New Japan, I'd be like, this conversation's over.
New Japan is so fun.
Like, you don't know you've never seen a Chikara show? I don't think you'd have this conversation with me, sir. I respect you trying to endeavor yourself into my genre of enjoyment, but you've done goofed up. And I feel that way about martial arts films. I really do. I remember, like, my dad, who was like the enabler to my bad action love. Like, he used to watch like USA Kung Fu Theater, which are just hot garbage, like the worst dubbed things of all time. You know what I mean? And they're edited to death. But I watch those every Saturday. I don't think I watched them as seriously as I watched like anything with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it when I was 7, you know, or however old I was. Let me do the math. 22. I wasn't 22. Just kidding. But it's like, man, it's a genre that I'd really like to get into. But now that I've stopped I'm not watching anything now. I'm just working all the time. But it's like now it's like once you're confronted with, you know, the entire history of a country's, cinema, it's a little daunting.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a manner of what appeals to your taste. So if you're like into the John Woo stuff, yeah, obviously like, oh, that's gonna be cool. But if you like the grindhouse stuff, you know, watch like Lone Wolf and Cub, or watch like the Sonny Chiba like Street Fighter films.
Oh yeah, the Sonny Chiba stuff's good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The thing with the Lone Wolf and Cub, I never watched it because I read the comic.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like the comic's so good. The comic is a big influence on this book too.
Well, okay. What were some of
not directly, but
sure. I mean, but there is kind of the man on.
I know. I keep interrupting.
No, it's all right. You're fine. It's a conversation. We're cool. You're totally fine. But okay. To kind of take it back to the book, though we can do the action movie thing for hours. But we're all aficionados here. But what made you want to get into comics?
Look, man, my name's Kyle Starks, and I have an uncle named Tony.
Oh.
It's always been this way. My uncle Tony, by the way, used to be in the Overstreet Price Guide. He used to write an article, like a page article called Comics in a Flash, and he has a Silver Age mail order service. So when I used to spend the night at my uncle's house, I'm sure my uncle was like, "You gotta get these kids some comics," when we're like too tiny to be reading. Like I learned to read on comics. That's not a joke. But I used to spend the night at my uncle's house, and he had like Jimmy Olsen, Superman's friend Jimmy Olsen, like all these awesome, crazy bonkers. Once again, you might notice some influence, like these awesome '70s comics that were so dope. And then when we getting comics, I only had like the shittiest, like most garbage. I'm gonna curse a lot right now, apparently.
Go for it.
Like I remember, like my brother always had the coolest, like that dude was always like one step ahead of everybody else. He had a pull list for Doom Patrol and Animal Man. I don't think he pulled a Swamp Thing, but man, he jumped out quick. Like anything cool, John Byrne's Fantastic Four. Here's what I was getting. I was getting Spider-Man, the Hulk, Justice League, and I think the X-Men. And you're like, oh, that sounds like a pretty good group. No, man, this is 1982. The Hulk is stuck in like that dimension where he was for like 10 years. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Doctor
It's like
Strange
the
puts him
crossroads.
there.
The crossroads. It was the most boring, terrible garbage. Spider-Man's fighting Fire-Lord. Not a good era for Spider-Man. And it's literally Justice League Detroit. It was literally Justice League Detroit. So, like, I was kind of shown, like, out the gate that, like, comics, like, aren't great, I guess. Like you make them, like, you have to, like, comics as a genre is, like, you can rise. You can rise to things, but also, like, it's okay just to tell a story. It doesn't have to be really, really good. But then when we got older, we both worked at that aforementioned store. So, like, I've sort of always had comics around me. But I'm going to tell you, man, when I turned 21, maybe early 19, I quit working at that store. I started working at a record store. I was a painting major in college. Like, I didn't deal with comics for a solid 8 years when I was just trying to get drunk and laid for, like, a long time. So hard. I was good at that, too. Just kidding. But then, like, I got married and I was going to have a kid. And it's like, you know what? I never actually did, like, a beginning to end comic. And I should do that before my next kid's born. And that was Legend of Ricky Thunder. That was 2012. Legend of Ricky Thunder, which Comics Alliance said is the greatest wrestling comic of all time. I did that. I really like Boxes Brown's Andre the Giant, so I give him best all-time nonfiction genre. But I did Legend of Ricky Thunder, and it got a little bit of a few people saw it, so like I felt like obligated to do something with it. And I started making a little bit of money, and then I started making a little bit more money. It's like, well, this is a pretty good hobby. I didn't know hobbies paid money. I thought that was just darts at the bar trying to get laid. I thought that's what the hobby was. Like, I thought hobbies were going out, not going in, you know?
Yeah.
So after Legend of Ricky Thunder, I did Sexcastle, which, as you guys know, turned out pretty good for me. So now I'm doing it. I'm a full-time comic book boy. And if you would have asked me 4 years ago, if you would ask me then, I would have laughed in your face. I would have been like, it's not a real thing. People don't, like, some people do it, but not really.
They know, like, the magic word, the secret. Because I forget who it was that, maybe it was Jim Zub or somebody, said that, like, once you get into comics, like, it feels like once you get into comics, they brick up the entryway to make sure that nobody else can get in that way. And so you just kind of have to find your own way and stumble in.
Yeah. I occasionally get asked, like, hey, Kyle, don't ask me, like, find someone who's, like, making real money doing it. Like, we're like keeping the lights on over here. It's not impressive what I'm doing. Yeah, maybe it's impressive. Let's say it is. Let's say it's very impressive. But like, hey, how do you get into comics? It's like, well, Matt Fraction read your book. His plane's delayed. That's how you do it, I guess. That's how I did it. I literally. And I will never stop taking the opportunity to point it out. I'm super lucky. And my peers will always say, when I say that, they're like, well, if it wasn't any good, then it's like, yeah, that's true, man. I'm not saying, like, I'm very proud of the work I do. I think it's well above average. But I'm super lucky because there's a million things out there that are great that no one ever sees. And I was super lucky that a comic reviewer critic who liked wrestling is the one who saw Legend of Ricky Thunder, which I was just goofing on. I'm super lucky that a failed dinner ended up with Matt reading my book and wanting to do something with it. Because if it was anyone else, like, who knows? Maybe they just tweet good book, And I sell a couple more extras out of my store. But Fraction is just like one of the best dudes. Big period. I'll go to bat for that dude anytime. My joke is like him and the reviewer who found Legend of Ricky Thunder, Chris Sims, like, but to my wife, it's like, one day those two guys are going to be like Kyle. God, it's kind of scary right now. I've been making this joke for years, but now it's scary. It's going to be like, Kyle, we're going to kill the president. And I'm like, fuck, I have to do it. Sorry, wife. They're cashing in their blood debt.
You have to be the trigger man.
Yeah. They're like, get in there. Go get him, Starks. They're like, oh boy, I feel real poorly equipped for this. This one.
I just write this stuff, man.
Like, maybe a distraction. I feel like I get distraction.
You're just clapping in the corner. Hey, over here.
Right. I do a dance. I do a nice jig. I don't know. Yeah. So it's like, I'm super lucky, and I'm super lucky. Sexcastle got nominated for an Eisner. There's lots of good books. Like, that's crazy. I'm super lucky that Oni liked it, and Oni came to me and asked me to do Invader Zim, which I was poorly suited for. And I'm more lucky that Rick and Morty became open because I'm very well suited for that. I'm super lucky that I can pitch something like that's based around hobos fighting, and Image is like, yeah, let's do that. And frankly, they seem pretty pumped about it, which is like the craziest thing to me. So like I don't have I don't know how you do it. And you know what was funny is my first convention was Heroes Con in 2012, and I sat next to Erica Henderson, who is my very good friend, and her story's basically the same. Like, how do you get into comics? Like, I don't know, you just get lucky. Like, you have to not suck. Like, number one, don't suck. But after that, get lucky, I guess.
I mean, sky's the limit. I mean, I feel like
I hope so.
Yeah, well, I feel like we crossed paths briefly in San Diego this past year.
Yeah, I did San Diego Comic-Con. I did not win the Eisner. It's okay, guys. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, you could win
Guys,
it.
it's
You can win it for Rock Candy Mountain.
Like, God damn, I won Best New Series. No, I'm just kidding. The thing is like, so I went to San Diego. Me and Erica went because she was nominated. Erica, like, we became like, Erica's literally like one of my best friends, which is crazy now because Erica's so big. But I love her so much. I was like, hey, look, we're both nominated our first time. We could never be nominated again. Like, we should go. And it's crazy expensive. I mean, you know, right? Like, it's a lot. And I get free pass because I'm an Eisner nominated. Apparently I can go for free whenever I want.
Oh, sweet.
Did you know this?
No.
It's like some sort of.
It's like going to Disney World.
Yeah, it's like I might have misread that note, but as the impression, like, once you're nominated for an Eisner, you can go whenever you want, which I think is crazy. Anyway,
boys, it's time for us to get nominated for an Eisner.
That's right.
Man, I gotta get nominated for like best pilot, so I get some free airline tickets or something.
Yeah,
I don't know, get that. So we went, and at my table, where's Kyle sit? I don't know. Oh, I have no guests, so I get to sit by myself with someone I most definitely don't know. So I sit down. Can you hear my dog like whining in the background?
Nope.
Not particularly.
Oh, thank God! I'm gonna tell you, it's the worst. The worst. A dog. So I go. I don't have a guest, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll go sit at my image table. Like, I hope they sat me next to Kelly Sue and Matt because I like sort of know them. At my table, this was last year's Eisners, so if you were aware of who won, gets better. It's Cliff Chiang, 1-2. Jason Latour, 1-1. Jason Aaron, 1-2, and Raphael Albuquerque, who should have won. That's my table. There was no like. It's like Kyle Starks and like the Eisner winning crew.
Oh, that means you got front row seats to see Jason Latour's Colonel Sanders outfit.
Yeah, Jason, I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm pals with Jason Latour. I wish I had like free range to other people's stories, but like Jason Latour, I know is like he's kind of like the free bird of, like, you know what I mean? Like, Jason Latour doesn't care. He's Jason Latour, and it's great. Yeah. And he's kind of goofy, but he's also good at what he does. Jason Latour, who was very polite, because we have a mutual friend, which is Rico Renzi, who colors Spider-Gwen and Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. So who I knew from Erica, but also from Heroes Con, because he sort of puts on that show. He's one of the people who puts it on. But it's like, oh, you're friends with Rico. Like, I'm friends with Rico. I'm gonna see Rico this weekend. I'm super stoked. That's just me throwing that out to the karmic gods. But Jason looked like, so I lost, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I knew I wasn't going to win. I was up against Kate Beaton. I don't know if you guys know Kate Beaton. Hark the Vagrant.
Oh, right.
She's perfect. Her stuff is. It's like it's from a different. I knew there's no way. A woman had never won Best Humor Publication. Hark the Vagrant is literally amazing and hilarious and perfect. It's been a New York Times bestseller. Like, she's going to win. I mean, she's going to win. There is no real question. But as I sat there and they're like sort of listing the names, stupid idiotic Kyle Brain is going, well, maybe I am going to win. Maybe I will win. And I'm starting to think, I don't have anything planned to say. This is going to be great. And then, like, yeah, you didn't win. And I was prepared for that, but I guess my face was like not super pleased. And Jason Latour like put his hand on my shoulder and was like, "It's all right, man. Like, yeah, I didn't think I was going to win anyway. I don't even know why I'm upset." But leaving that situation, like, if you're ever nominated for an Eisner and you ever feel close to it, like you sit next to Jason Aaron and Jason Latour and Cliff Chiang, you want to win an Eisner. I want to win an Eisner really bad. Not because I could be like, it's just like I feel like that's my next goal, which I'll never do. Like, gosh darn. I make diarrhea jokes, on page. like I guess you never know, but it's like, man, I was like, man, I want to win. I want to get an Eisner. So I left the Eisners like kind of like which is kind of how I started, because I felt like people were like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I was like, well, I'm going to show you I can do that. And I felt the same with Sexcastle. Like, I'm going to do it again. But I left the Eisners thinking, no, I'm going to win an Eisner. I'm going to show him what's up. And on the plane ride home, it was almost in a wreck. So it was really a double shitty weekend for me. But I'm a better human because of it. And I get great stories. So
I want you to win for this hobo book, so the hobos can carry you out like the end of Rudy.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? You know what? I swear, if I get nominated, I have to find some way to get. Do you guys know Chris Schweitzer? Perfect American cartoonist, maybe the greatest living American cartoonist, Chris Schweitzer, who did Krogan's Adventure for Oni, and he did The Creeps, which was a kid's book. But here's the thing about Chris Schweitzer: like, that dude has lived the craziest life. He lived on a pirate boat for 2 weeks. Like, he's like the most amazing guy, and he's like, let's say he's 6'5". If he hears, he'd be like, I'm not 6'5". He's a big guy with a big mustache, and he kind of always dresses sort of period style, but it's not. It's just Chris. It's just Chris being Chris, man. He's most comfortable in overalls. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you, that dude definitely plays the banjo, and we're definitely singing that song. I'm gonna get Chris Schweitzer to sing the Rock Candy Mountain song as my acceptance speech.
Oh, I hope. God, I hope.
I can't even.
As I wear like a super tight suit, like the tightest, like maybe sunglasses on.
Yeah. We had Jason on the show a couple months ago, and we just got to talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I love Jason. He was like, I saw him at Cincinnati, and he's like taking pot shots at me, because that's his personality. Like, if he likes you, he'll rib you, And but it's been a while since anyone's treated me that way, because I'm a married man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a grown man. But it's like by like the second day, I was like, I love it. I want it all the time. I love Jason Latour. I do, like him, and the people who I've met in the people who like I've really met in the comic industry, which is crazy because I don't think it's really true. Like, I've primarily only met like really amazing people. And again, I'm super lucky. Like, I haven't really met someone who's like F that guy, Yeah. Super lucky. I've only worked with good editors. I've only worked with good art teams, which mostly is me. But I mean, like, when I have like worked with, artists or with editors, it's always been great. The one I'm working with now, even pretty great.
So you
super lucky, man.
Yeah, you do enjoy the balance. I mean, for one, you're working on Rick and fucking Morty of all things, but you do enjoy the balance of working on your creator-owned stuff with Rock Candy Mountain and with the licensed stuff as well.
I think it's good to see like all the sides, It's funny, we're talking like just like kind of coming in. Is like when I first got Rick and Morty paid my bills last year. Sexcastle paid my bills too last year, which is crazy, which is just like the craziest thing. I want them to make that movie so bad. We're gonna buy a new house. It's gonna be called the Sexcastle, and that's just how it's gonna be. That's just how it's gonna be. But it's interesting. Like, I did that. Like, that was my sort of professional entry into comics, and it's been great. I mean, it's Rick and Morty. Like, I love the Rick and Morty. Like, if you haven't watched the show, like, dude, that's a funny show. Like, you are doing yourself a disservice, because Dan Harmon's a genius, and guess what? Apparently Judge Roiland is too. That show is hilarious and super smart, and which makes it really hard to do, by the way, because I'm not a genius. It's like me trying to be genius is pretty difficult. But it's just like, it's really interesting because the thing is with like a licensed property is that you get paid to do it, and that's kind of the end of it. There's no I cannot get rich off of. No one in comics is getting rich off anything, so take that with a grain of salt. But I could never make very good money off doing these licensed comics, because the licensee is the one who's getting the money, right? Whereas with this Rock Candy Mountain, like, that's mine. That's all mine. And Chris's, to an extent, because he's made it. Him and Dylan Todd, who's my designer, have made it. Like, they've made it beautiful. They made it way more beautiful than if I tried to do it all by myself. But like, this is like, I could get rich off of Rock Candy Mountain. I will not. I mean, maybe I will. I hope I do. I hope everyone loves it. I hope it's like Saga. People are like, man, did you see Lion Cat? Yeah. Did you see the Hobo Mafia? It won't. But, dare to dream, right? Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see the two sides, but there's a lot. Like, I don't know. I love them both. I love Rick and Morty. And So Kill Them All is being reprinted, and there is some discussion like they may get Rowdy Harrison to do the forward, who's the guy who directed Roadhouse.
Right.
Oh,
Which I'm going to tell you, I don't get excited about very many things. I would love that so much. And Oni, it was like the editor at Oni was sort of joking. He's like, "Hey, what if we got the Roadhouse property?" It's like, "Yeah, I'd do that. I would do that." Me and Eric and Harrison have been like, we would love to do Trimmers like so bad. We want to do Trimmers so bad.
Oh.
No one has the license to it. Me and Eric and Harrison love the Trimmers. I would love to do a Trimmers comic. And it's the same thing. It's like, man, I'm not going to get rich off of it. But, you pay your bills, and it's fun, and you get to play in that sandbox. And it's like it all comes down to like, is that the sandbox you love? I love Rick and Morty. I really do. I think it's a great property. I think those guys. I think Justin is a really smart, great guy. I think he's the type of person who really wants to welcome everybody. He's so inclusive, and I think the comic is inclusive, and I love that. I really love Rick and Morty. I'm super glad they asked me to do it. I would like to do it for as long as possible. I'm on it through 30 for right now. So I'm going to do 14 issues, which I think in 2016, 2017, to do 14 issues of any series is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like I remember like long runs, like, we invoked Fraction earlier, him working on Iron Man for years and years is a long run. Now it's considered like, oh, did you put in like 12 to like 20 issues on this book, especially for like a smaller press book? It's like, that's a long run. It's like, is it a long run now?
It is. I feel, and because you just never know how things are going to go. Like I'm hoping to get 8 issues out of this. I could not. That first Rich Tommaso book with Image, I think he canceled it at 6 issues. So you figure like it's just for something new that no one knows about. Like it all just depends on who's yelling the name of the book out, So whereas like fingers crossed. But I think Rick and Morty's gonna go 30. But you think about DP7, like DP7, Mark Grunwald's finest work, was 32 issues, 36 issues. Could you imagine DP7 in 2017 doing 36 issues?
Well, we were talking to Jim Zub, and like Wayward's at 20 issues now, and he's
I played board games with Jim Zub last year at Gen Con.
Oh, yeah.
We played Mansions of Madness. I didn't know it was Jim Zub, and I had the filthiest mouth going the whole time. And if I would have known like a professional peer was there, I may have toned it down because like Brian Hurt was there, who was the artist for Six Gun, and I knew he was there, and I was still going to be dirty mouth because like I had never met Jim Zub before, and I was very graphic.
Yeah, but Jim's Canadian. Jim. He can handle it. They're very polite and put on a good face.
I think he gave me that follow back on Twitter. I think I got that follow back, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I've been trying that for years.
Trying to get that Jim's Up follow back?
Yeah, I talked to Jim at just about every one of these big shows, and yeah. But hey, I got Brian Shermer.
He's not following me. I'm just kidding. I just was. But I was seeing a Gen Con this year, and I'll be like, hey man. You know what he's gonna be like? You use too many dirty words, you filthy board game boy. And I'll be like, I deserve that.
Yeah. Now we're gonna play Ticket to Ride, and you're gonna like it.
We played Mansions of Madness, which I played an old lady who was very graphic about her genitals and her wants. It was not. It was very funny for everyone who I would not want to consider a peer.
So, Kyle, something we ask everybody that comes on the show: what are you currently geeking out over?
Man. I just look like my wife's over there. You know what I'm doing? I'm real into right now, and I'm not super stoked about it. Is I've been playing Heroes of the Storm, which is a Blizzard game. It's a MOBA. Yeah. And I'm way into it, mostly because I work all the time, and it's a really nice palate cleanser. They're short games. I was way into board games. I went to Gen Con last year to promote Rick and Morty, and I never really board gamed, and I really like board games a lot. But it literally, like, I left there because I'm sober now, which is a big part of it. So it's like, well, you still want your sort of social interactions and stuff to do with like an excuse to see people, and I really was into board games. But the thing is, like, I'm domesticated with kids, and I don't have any friends. So it's like board games are dumb if you don't have any. That's a bad habit. That's a bad hobby to get into if you don't have like a group of people to regularly play with. So I've sort of drifted away from it, though. At any opportunity, I will whip out a board game. Any chance. What? Pandemic? Yes, we're doing it right now. Let's do it. We're doing it right now. Dead of Winter? Doing it. Let's do it. Ooh. House. Oh, gosh, what's it? The House on Haunted Hill. Is that right? That's right. Love those games. Anyway, So I've been playing the Zero Storm game, which I'm really really into because I feel like it's something. It's like a video game, but to me it's something I've never played before. Like even the style of game. So I'm really fascinated with it, and I feel like what it does. I know people play it like against other people, but you can play it against like the computer with other people. Okay, and there's like say 30 different characters, and I feel like it's like learning a skill. Like you just kind of it's great to be like I can play Rexar or whatever. So it's sort of what I'm geeking out about right now today.
You mentioned wrestling a lot. Are you excited at all for WrestleMania coming up? I feel like that's an appropriate response.
I love wrestling so much. I'm such a wrestle boy.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be terrible.
Yeah,
it's going to be super super terrible, and it's heartbreaking. And the thing with wrestling is, I think SmackDown's great right now.
Yes.
And the thing about WWE is for like the last like 6 years, like NXT, like you're like, all right, I'll watch WWE just because NXT is great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well then everything that made NXT great, which is to say Dusty Rhodes and the writers, either died or went to SmackDown. So right now SmackDown's great. I love SmackDown. Yeah. I really look forward to Tuesdays. But man, I still watch Mondays, and it's like I just hate because it's like it's 3 hours I could be working, and I stop to watch it, and it's so bad. It's so insultingly bad, and it's kind of been that way since I've been married. I've been married 12 years. And I would say there's maybe a year or a total of a year worth of shows that were not awful from Raw. It's like, why do I keep doing this? I don't know why. That's like your addiction. My addiction's wrestling. Just like almost any action movie, I want to see badly. Yeah. I don't see all of them because I don't think action movies now are what they used to be at all. They don't have the same sort of. They're just not like as fun as they used to be. I think like 94, 95 was sort of the point. I mean, there's exceptions. Like, look, Kill Bill's amazing. John Wick's amazing. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's something else that I saw recently.
Mad
I was like,
Max?
oh, that was a good one. But it's not like it used to. It's not like it was from like 83 to 89.
Mm-hmm.
Where like it was because now it's superheroes. I mean, that's really what it is. Like superheroes are what the action genre was for all those years. They've been replaced, and those are action movies, sure. But like, I still like to see like one man in a machine gun, and he's mad as boss.
I think that's Falling Down, right?
Yeah.
Falling Down, man. I love Falling Down so much. Such a good movie.
Because he doesn't get his pancakes.
But yeah, I feel like even the satires of the action movie were stuff like Falling Down, which is really smart satire of that year for sure. Michael Douglas isn't completely off-putting yet. The girl, his wife. The cop's wife. Do you guys remember Falling Down very well? Anyway, the cop's he's retiring, and I can't think of who plays the cop. But
Robert
I feel
Duvall.
Like I should. Yeah, Robert Duvall. Like in my head, I'm like it's Robert Duvall, right? But I didn't want to say it. So he's retiring. He's retiring, and his wife is sort of has dementia. Do you remember this at all?
Kinda. She's not all there. Yeah.
The lady who plays his wife is the girl on the cover of Matthew Sweet's Girlfriend album, and it's like such like a little thing that. Like that is so interesting to me because she's beautiful. She's so beautiful on that cover. But it's like what a weird little thing. Like I love 80s action movies.
There's something about I mean like just those icons. I think that's what really helped propel it. The the Schwarzeneggers, the Stallones, the Willises. Like Jake and I were at Emerald City Comic-Con. And I forgot how this got invoked, but like at one point Jake was just out of nowhere like Return of Bruno, like the Bruce Willis album, and I was just like, fuck yeah. And that was like my Emerald City Comic-Con experience. It was maybe that's arc number 6 now, the Return of Bruno. It was like Jackson's like nemesis.
We had so many copies of that cassette at that store I worked at. Just like a whole like a pillar of Return of Bruno's.
We're gonna sell so many copies of this album. Everyone's gonna want it.
Guys, you have to stop buying this. You have to stop buying this for people. I only paid a nickel. You have to stop buying Return to Bruno. You got to. Buy more Tiffany. That's what sells here.
So before we sign off, Kyle, like what can we expect in the future of Rock Candy? I mean, it's kind of looking like we got like a Beyond Thunderdome situation coming up.
Tina Turner is not in this book. But I wish she was.
Never mind, I'm not buying it anymore.
Damn it! If only Tina Turner was in this book.
You can write it in.
Think. When the gears are turning, can I get Tina Turner into this book? I'm gonna tell you, like I think I'm real proud of Rock Candy Mountain. I think, and I say this a lot, and I say it because it's true. I think comics should be fun. I think they should also be they should give you more than just being fun. But I think comics not enough are like, let's have fun. And for issue 1, I think it's a lot of fun. It just gets like issue 1 is like, it's the part of the roller coaster that's going up. Like it's only going to like, we're not to the roller coaster yet. Like the literal devil kills a jungle's worth of hobos. There's a massive fight scene with the hobo mafia inside of a boxcar. Buddy, we're just getting started. Like issue 2 is going to be, you're going to be like, issue 2 is so good. Issue 3, so good. Issue 4, look, they're in prison. I'm just going to say it now. Somehow they go from the boxcar to prison in 3 issues. That's
the Beyond Thunderdome situation.
Kyle Starks making the good comic boys. It's going to be fun, man. It's what it's going to be. And a little bit extra, you guys are Sexcastle fans.
Oh, yeah.
Like Sexcastle, it's good fight scenes and it's jokey jokes. But at the same time, man, that book to me is about parental responsibility. It's about personal decisions and parental responsibility, and there are fights that occur because of that. And Rock Candy Mountain has also, more to it than just hobos fighting is cool and funny, which it is. Hobo fighting is great. So I'm hoping by the end of Rock Candy Mountain that people will go, this is better than Sexcastle. That's my hope.
You are off to a good start. That debut issue is a lot of fun, and I know you were saying there's exposition there, but there is also a diarrhea flurry of action to be had, and I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah, I wish I could somehow do like 50-page comics that were still selling for the same price, so I could do like 25-page fight sequences. But I can't. Womp womp.
Have that be the con exclusive hardcover.
Oh,
yeah,
the extended edition.
I would love it. Oh,
the annual is
guys,
just a fight scene.
Can we collect all this? By the way, I want to make all these fight scenes 2 pages longer.
Yes.
Woo! I'm writing that down. You guys don't get any,
yes.
You don't get any of that either.
Ah, damn it.
We do it to
it's fun just to be along for the ride.
Yeah, we're supporting the arts here at Geek Out.
Yeah.
We are supporting the arts.
I love it.
Be along on that hobo train.
I love talking to some Sexcastle boys for sure, because I feel like I did something really good, and everyone I know who's read it has said nothing but kind things to me across the board.
Oh yeah.
No, but the thing is, no one read it. You know what I mean? Like, not very many people read it. You'd be surprised. It's just like the Rick and Morty comics. So many Rick and Morty fans don't even read that book. So I'm hoping, like, maybe Rock Candy Mountain is the book that I do that, like, people finally, like, sort of in droves read. Hopefully.
I did want to just throw this out there before we end. Double Dragon did come out in 1994. I don't know how you feel about that.
Are you talking about Sean Astin's?
Yes.
And Matt Wolf?
Yes, and Alyssa Milano.
That's not his name. That's not his name. It's not Matt. It was something else. Wolf. Scott Wolf. Boo! Dropping it right here. I don't have any websites up. I know this is Double Dragon. They don't fight the bald guy with the mustache in that movie though. You know what I'm talking about? Balobelopes or whatever his name is. If he would have fought that guy, not the boss, not the final boss, the pre-final boss with the machine gun. I think he's shirtless.
Yeah.
Maybe striped pants. I beat Double Dragon with my brother at 2-Bit Bandit in like 89. I remember if they would have put that bald-headed dude in there, people would not say bad things about Double Dragon. They'd be like, it's a cinematic, it's masterwork. Sean Astin would be like, instead of Brendan Fraser, it would have been Sean Astin. He'd be like, hey, do you want to be Samwise? He'd be like, I think we all know I'm a Frodo. And they'd be like, you're right. You're a Frodo, my dude. But nope, it didn't happen. They should have put that bald-headed dude in there. Balobos? Is that right?
I'm gonna go with that. I'm just gonna forever go with
good enough
Balobos.
for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with not Lopan.
I didn't fare too well in the Double Dragon game.
Bobo.
So
it's a Bobo. Is his name? A Bobo.
I know there was a similar looking character in Streets of Rage 3, but then no, that's a whole other can of worms going into the side-scrolling NES, Sega Genesis Final Fight realm.
I can't wait for all the tweets I get from this conversation about bad 1994 movies. But here's the thing. You know what? I'm okay with that because all advertising is good advertising.
There you go.
Follow me, babies. Follow me, babies.
There you go.
Send me your bad 94 movies.
But yeah, so again, the debut issue of Rock Candy Mountain comes out Wednesday, April 5th. And keep an eye out for, Sexcastle is out in stores now, as is the Rick and Morty comic book through Oni. So, Kyle, thanks again for coming on the show.
Hey, my Twitter is at the Kyle Starks. Send me the 94 movies.
There you go.
Let's do it.
Let's find a hashtag for it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been really great.
Oh, of course, it was a blast.
You're a bunch of real sweet baby boys, and we'll do this again. We'll do this again real soon. Next month,
please.
We'll promote issue 2.
Straight out of Hoboken.
Hobo Satan.
Hobo Satan. No, remember, he was very clearly like, that's like just straight up like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Hobo
I just have
Sapien.
Hobo Satan on the mind.
And as do we all.
Yes.
As do we all. But you've been, we started out this with like a nod to a very clear nod to The Exorcist. You've been binging pretty hard on Exorcist related things.
Everything I can find, I'm grabbing. Well, I don't know exactly what started. Well, actually, I do know what started.
What spurred it?
So a little while ago, William Peter Blatty passed away, and I remember thinking, God, he not only wrote the novel, which I think is a masterpiece, but he also wrote the screenplay and won an Oscar for The Exorcist. He adapted his own novel into the movie we all love and are terrified by. But so I was like, you know what? I really need to read that book. And it's unfortunate that it took his passing to do it, but I'm glad I'm reading it. And I did it audiobook style. And I'm glad I did that because he reads. It's for the 40th anniversary of the novel, which is 71 was when it came out, and then The Exorcist comes out in 73. So a pretty quick turnaround, for a novel.
A big bestseller.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And dude, the first edition cover of that book is fucking horrifying. Like the cover that comes with the audiobook is like a red tint and it's like Reagan, a little girl. But the first edition one is really unsettling. Anyway. So I got an audiobook and he reads the book. And I think that there's some revisions in it because he always wanted to do that looking back.
Yeah,
so for the 40th anniversary, there's some revisions. I'm not sure exactly what those are because, like I said, this is the first time I'm reading it. And it's the best audiobook recording reading I've ever heard. I mean, he does all the voices. There's differences in all of them. He sells, like when Chris McNeil is crying, he's crying, when they're screaming, he's screaming. When it's soft, it's, it's really well done. And it just deepens the experience of the movie. So while I'm reading the book, I'm like, oh, that's right. I totally forgot there was a TV show about The Exorcist.
So did Fox.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it gets renewed,
Got
but we'll see. But if not, it's a hell of a 10 episode watch. Aha. And so I watched. I guess if you go on the Fox's website, you get like an hour free before you have to put in all your Cox medication or whatever the hell you have. And so I watched the first hour and I was like, if it's good, I'll just buy it on Vudu, And I liked the first episode a lot. And over the next 2 days, binge the series. And the series is really well done. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it has a lot of great nods and twists and turns to the original Exorcist. But it's it's its own work in its own right, and it's not a Exorcist Family of the Week show. The first season is one family.
Ooh.
They take their time. It's not every episode they go to a new house. So it is really well done. Performances are top notch. And then I decided to watch the movie, and it's been a while. I can't remember exactly the last time I saw the movie. I do remember one of my favorite movie-going experiences was with our buddy TJ, where we went to go see The Exorcist in theaters.
Cut
Excuse me.
version,
Yeah,
right?
the version you've never seen,
Which we've all seen.
Seen because it's been out for a while now. And then
I saw it in theaters too.
and then E.T. afterwards. We were like, well, let's do that because we're going to be freaked out.
Palate cleanser.
And we were very conscious. Let's leave. We want to leave the theater after The Exorcist during the day. We want to take it because that movie is like it
holds up.
It's still so unsettling, and it's not. And it almost is worse because I know what's coming. So you're like, oh, there's this moment where they're talking to the detective and they're breathing, but the crucifix scene is coming, or the
Virgin Mary statue.
Oh my goodness, yeah. It's and they go into some detail in the book on that. Anyway, so I rewatched the movie, but I watched the theatrical cut because I hadn't seen that in a long time. And I know in the past we've discussed which version we like better. One of the things I totally didn't realize was how much actual more scenes are added into the theatrical version you've never seen.
Like I have the theatrical, and that's 122 minutes.
and I think it's 133
Okay, so there's
for
like a full 11 minutes.
yeah. And the most famous thing in that's added into the version you've never seen is the spider walk scene, which I think I don't know about Chris, but Sam and I have gone on record saying unnecessary.
Yeah,
like
no, I agree.
That early in the film.
That early in the film because the pacing of the book and the movie is so well done. It's so perfect. I mean, the exorcism doesn't happen to the very end, and I said it's like about 9 minutes total. Like it's slowly building to this explosion in the end. Which is bam, 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 bam.
You know, the spider walk kind of derails the
it
momentum.
Does. Now, you know, and it's freaky and stuff. And it's nice because the actress, there's a stunt woman or gymnast who did it. She's the only one, and so she finally gets credit for it. But in the book, it's way creepier in the book. Because in the book, she follows around the tutor like a spider and licks her like keeps licking at her leg with a demon tongue and just follows her around. And that was the original plan. When she comes down the stairs and opens her mouth, it wasn't supposed to be blood coming out. It was supposed to be a demon like serpent tongue. And so in the book, she's like following her around, like just lashing out with her tongue at this woman's. At Sharon's. I think Sharon is her name. The tutor at her legs. And so yeah, I mean it's just been Exorcist stuff on the brain. And then also today I picked up Outcast Volume 1 because. I think I've read all of Volume 1 already, but I wanted to refresh.
It's a pretty good book.
And then I was like, I might as well finish the series because I saw the pilot about a year ago in Seattle.
You saw it before anybody else, or the general public.
Yeah. That was so good. And I remember at the time I was like, man, I wish it was just available to watch all at once. And I'm like, well, shit, now it is. The first season. Mm-hmm. So I definitely want to do that and just. And I remember liking the book, but the pilot is. Oh man, the pilot is super terrifying.
It's a lot different than the. I can't speak to the show because I've never actually watched the show. Full disclosure, but I've had to write about the book, and it's a lot different than The Walking Dead.
Oh sure, yeah.
But no, that I don't mean that in terms of
no.
quality.
And I think that was something from what I've read. Robert Kirkman, that was obviously a very conscious thing to be like, this is a different type of terror. And to me, I've always, if I'm going for horror stuff. I'm not a zombie guy. I'll watch a zombie movie, but that's not my go-to. The supernatural demon, hell versus heaven, God versus devil kind of stuff is way more interesting to me.
Well, I think the thing about possession stories like The Exorcist, like Outcast, or any of that sort of thing is that what makes it so insidious is that they're always lashing against people they love.
Yeah. Well, oh man, thank you.
There is a familiar face.
That reminds me of such a amazing moment in the book. Where Father Karras is telling Chris, the mom, to don't go to Reagan, don't see her anymore. And she's like, why? And he's like, because it's going to get to a point when she does something where you cannot separate that from her, and it will ruin your relationship forever. Even if she gets better, something will happen where you cannot break free of this moment, and it'll ruin your relationship with your daughter forever, even though it's not your daughter doing it. And that was really cool, or really, heartbreaking and terrifying stuff. But anyway, yeah. So it's been a terrifying thing because I work nights, and so walking around work has been super scary lately because my mind just goes to horrible places, and it's really windy. And so like I have my flashlight, I'm patrolling around, and I'll turn a corner, and like because it's windy and I'm wearing boots and I'm stepping on rocks and dust and stuff, I like suck the air out of my I had the air sucked out of me because I turned the corner and this is so lame. A gust of wind picked up some dirt and dust, and the flashlight bouncing off the lantern caught this like glowing like visual ghost like thing. And I remember I turned the corner and I went, oh, and it just, and I couldn't breathe for a second. Like it stopped me dead in my tracks. And I realized exactly what it was like a nanosecond later, but oh man, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? But Chris, you said you saw it in when they re-released it in theaters.
Yeah, I had a good old time watching the movie when they re-released it. What was that, 10, 15 years ago?
Oh man, it was probably for the 40th anniversary. It was probably 2013. It was probably for the.
They did a version. I mean, they released it earlier though.
Yeah, I feel like it was.
Well, they did.
They
did that. They did it like. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Into like 2003.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Something like that.
They did it when I saw it. It was like a one day only thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Chris, because I was in high school. I think when it happened, and I was like, I ain't seeing that in theaters. And the thing that caught me.
But yeah, I know what you're talking. Like 5 years ago, they re-released.
I think it must have been
again.
2013 because I think Sam and I had just started to hang out. Like we had just kind of met, and TJ and I were like, let's do it. Or I think Sam was working or school because it was during the daytime. And so it must have been for the 40th anniversary in 2013. But the one thing I remember seeing it in theaters that I never really got when I was like watching it on like DVD or on a TV somewhere, that now is stuck in my mind every time I watch it, is how terrifying the music is. Because you can't escape from the big screen. Like when you're watching The Exorcist on TV or on your laptop or somewhere else, you can distract yourself away from it. You can be like, oh yeah. But like when it's on the big screen, the lights are down and the music's kicking in and all that stuff, you can't escape it. And that was truly like a freaky ass experience.
Yeah.
Really, really freaky. Also, the next movie I want to watch is a movie called Possessed, which is starring Timothy Dalton as the Exorcist, and it's the story of the child, the real life inspiration for the Exorcist, the 1949 I think case of the boy who was possessed, and William Peter Blatty found out about that in class when he was at Georgetown. They taught about that, and of course that's why The Exorcist takes place in Georgetown. Like he was a huge fan. I saw a great interview where he's on campus. He's like, I love this place. This is like my favorite place in the world. Yeah. And so like I said, we live like near the Exorcist steps and all that.
Just on the other side of the river for me.
So we should all take a fucking gander. I've actually never been to the Exorcist steps.
Friend of the show, Joy, works at a bar that's like right there, right next to Georgetown campus.
Very appropriately named The Tombs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I guess originally those steps were known for Alfred Hitchcock, and that's what William Peter Blatty was like. To me, they're always the Hitchcock steps. But that movie, The Exorcist was so huge that I guess the stuntman fell down them twice. Yeah. They had like a half-inch rubber on each step. Because you watch it, I mean, there's no way to fake that shit. Like, he is going hard down there. And supposedly the Georgetown students, like when the stunt was going down, charged people $5 to stand on the roof to watch it happen. So I was like, that little cash money.
Yeah, those smart Georgetown kids.
Yeah.
You've never seen any of the sequels or Dominion?
No. One of the guys I work with.
Or the Ninth Configuration?
No. And then there's also, which I want to see 3, Legion. I also want to read the book.
That one's pretty good.
I know there's a lot of great moments I see on like Scariest Moments of All Time list. Like there's 2 moments I remember from.
Blatty directs Legion.
Yeah. And he, like I said, the novel Legion is the straight sequel to the Exorcist novel. It deals with the fallout of Father Karras. It's kind of fucked up what happens to him, but
it follows what's his name, the cop, right?
The cop, but like Karras, dies in the Exorcist, and he's like reanimated for Legion. I don't want to spoil it.
I did not know that. Because I, too, have not seen any of the sequels.
Yeah, and then
maybe both of you skip 2.
Yeah, I have no interest in watching 2.
Do that one.
No interest in watching 2.
Is it just bad, or
it's considered one of the worst movies ever made?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Now, James Earl Jones is in it, I think.
Directed by John Borman, who directed Excalibur. And Zardoz.
Yeah. Anyway, and then
now Chris wants to see.
Yeah.
There's The Exorcist. What?
I meant you're not selling me.
There's The Exorcist. What? The Beginning and Dominion, which are this like basically the same movie, but like different directors.
Different. There was the Exorcist prequel because it follows Karras in Africa, or not Karras, Marin in Africa, because that's when he first meets the demon, the Assyrian demon or whatever. It was in development hell, and so there's 2 different versions of the film.
Version I've heard to watch from William Peter Blatty. The Beginning is supposedly garbage. Get it out of here. He said it was one of the most miserable, embarrassing experiences of his life sitting there watching that movie. He said that he thought Dominion was a really sleek, well-done made movie. Now, granted, they both got savaged by the critics, but I haven't seen either of them. But the one that I've heard to watch is Dominion, so I want to get my hands on that. It's not on Vudu. It's not on any digital thing. So I want to check that out because I am very interested. Because they said that no sequel ties together the continuity of The Exorcist better than Dominion, because Dominion's like year 1 Marin. Like you see him deal with his first exorcism
by Frank Miller.
Yeah, dealing with his first exorcism and all that. And so I'm interested in seeing that because Father Marin, it's cool because he's barely in the movie, if you think about it. Played by Max von Sydow. Also, the old man makeup. When I was a kid, I did not realize that he was like 44 when they made that movie.
Yeah.
That makeup is like pretty on point because like he looks. I mean, now with the Blu-ray and all that, you can see some of it. But when I was a kid, I just figured he was that old.
Yeah. It was really weird for me to see like Max von Sydow movies like that, or even Force Awakens.
Yeah,
like it's like, oh, that dude's still alive because he's like an old fucking man.
He was 44 in 1973. That's why.
It's kind of like watching the Back to the Future movies because they do a really good job with the old man makeup in that as well. Again, just like with The Exorcist, the Blu-ray, you're like, oh wow. I can see the prosthetics, but like when I was a kid, I was just like, "This is amazing."
Yeah. No, I mean it fooled me, man. Like seriously, and it's funny because One Perfect Shot seems to always follow one of us on our movie binges because they just did a thing on The Exorcist. Oh yeah, which is so like perfect. I was like, "That's kind of creepy."
That's right. I referred you
to the shot of Marin with the rosary, right, sitting there. There's so many.
Not that I think it has any merit, but I actually found out a little while ago that I personally know one of the guys that works for One Perfect Shot.
Nice. Pretty sweet.
Sorry. He was a regular at my movie theater.
Sweet.
Granted, I don't think he doesn't follow me, so I don't think there's any way of him knowing what movie binges you guys are on, but it is a happy accident.
Yeah. Delicious.
It happens quite a bit. We run across it, and I'm like,
synchronicity. I forgot there was one was Jungian's term for it.
Yeah, I forgot the one was with Sam recently when I was like, oh, there's Field of Dreams. I remember you were talking a lot about Field of Dreams, and they popped on Field of Dreams, on it, and I was like, goddamn. But they usually do like, they usually do once they do one, they do like a bunch from the sequels.
Yeah. They get on a thread and they're just like, go for it.
And it makes sense. But there's a couple, like, it made me think of, like, there's a bunch of One Perfect Shots in The Exorcist. Excellent. I mean, of course, the most famous is the cover,
Arrival,
The Arrival of Father Marin. My favorite, I think, is Reagan reaching up and then the statue of the demon in the bedroom and the lights and it's all foggy and crazy. Yeah. And, of course, her floating and the power of Christ compels you. And there's millions.
Millions
and millions.
Squillions.
Billions and billions. Yeah. So, Chris, I know you've been on a big retro game kick lately.
I have. See them all out.
Yeah, I recently started. I think I've mentioned it on the show. I recently started reading Console Wars by Blake J. Harris. It's a great book. I bought it for Sam's birthday last year. Yes. And I recently recommended it to Jake via Audible, which is pretty neat because if it's the first time that a friend has recommended something to you, you get it for free.
If you want The Exorcist,
I kind of do.
It's terrifying.
I just added it to my read.
Oh, you did?
My read list.
Yeah,
so yeah, if you want to send it to me, that'd be
The
cool.
Exorcist.
But bringing the grand total of technically times that I've bought this book up to like 6,
Jesus.
Including recommending it to people and therefore Audible paying for it. I'm including that in this list. But yeah, it's just such a good book, and so many of my friends are into retro gaming in one way or another, or just video game culture in one way or another, that I'm like, you're gonna love this. I need to get it to Zach, even though he's a Nintendo guy, and Nintendo is not exactly the villain of the story, but it definitely follows
Sega?
Kalinske, the CEO of Sega of America.
Sega guy anyway.
Yeah, me too. Hence that. So yeah, by reading that book, I got real nostalgic for Sonic. So I found my old Sega system, found the power cable that has been eluding me for years. Yeah. Oddly enough, the power cable was right next to my PS1. Not to be confused with the PSX, but this is the small, more portable, not actual portable, but more portable version of the original PlayStation. Found out, just to go into the long story, found out my Genesis is dead. So found a used game store, not a big name like GameStop, but there's this place in Chantilly called Starland, which is like a huge warehouse of video game stuff.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
And animes. But yeah, if you want to go sometime, I'm a big fan, and I have a whole stack of things that I want to trade in.
Yeah,
actually.
The thing that makes me excited about you having a working Sega Genesis is that a long time ago for like $1 on eBay, I bought Judge Dredd on Game Gear because my Game Gear's still working.
Nice.
Well, it was at the time, and now it's like I've had it for 22 years, so
Right.
it's still working.
Yeah, no, I wasn't surprised at all that my Genesis wasn't working.
The sound, like you'd have to have headphones and you have to be very still, but like it's slowly, like you can't really play it anymore. Like it's kind of just a relic now. So like I totally want to buy Judge Dredd and play it on your Sega Genesis.
They have
Oh, they
copies
do?
of it. Yeah, I almost bought it just
It's a
because
good game.
just
Like, it's
because I saw it.
The movie's terrible. I mean, not terrible. I mean, the movie is not the perfect Judge Dredd movie, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I enjoy it
I
for
can
what
understand.
it is. But the game is just like a straight
There's
up
a reason
fun.
why I own 3 copies of the movie. Though.
Yeah. The game itself is just fun,
Yeah.
side scrolling, just shoot 'em up, Judge Dredd. It's
I
cool.
literally almost bought it. They have. I didn't check the prices because none of their things have the prices listed on it. You have to like scan it on one of their price gun things.
Yeah.
But they have it as just the cartridge, which is probably like $5,
A lot cheaper.
or they have it like full package, like
Which is probably a lot
in the
more.
box. Yeah, it's probably 10 to 20.
I mean, I've
bucks.
seen Dredd, the Genesis Dredd, like pretty cheap on
Yeah.
eBay. Like I thought about buying it
Yeah,
and just going.
I mean,
to
you
get
can
a
check.
Sega
Yeah,
Genesis, but-
the nice thing is they have everything listed online. They have a great website.
Oh,
like
sweet.
I think they're technically a e-store that just happen in Chantilly. They just happen to have their warehouse set up as a store.
Where's it at? Like where's it near?
Near the Dulles Town Center, or not Town Center, Expo Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, back in some warehouses. I can take you something.
Yeah,
if
let's
you
do it,
wanna
man. I definitely like. I've been eyeing just wanting to play the Dredd game because,
Yeah.
like I said, I didn't get to play that much of it on the Game Gear because it slowly
Yeah.
faded.
But yeah, so bought a console, a new to me console that was just the console, no cables or anything, for like $20 because I have the cables. I have 3 controllers, and I have a handful of games as well. And yeah, took me a while to rig it up to my TV because I have a nice fancy new TV, and for whatever reason, new fancy TVs don't like retro game consoles.
That's what I was afraid of because I thought about
Yeah.
buying just an old Genesis, and I was like, I don't know if it's going to work on my TV.
But I got it.
Or...
I originally I had it plugged directly into the TV, and it doesn't like it. But I have it essentially going through the VCR that I have plugged into my really nice TV, and it
Okay.
works just fine.
Oh, well, there you go.
I mean, every once in a while I have to like hit the power or reboot it like 3 times before it actually starts running. But
Yeah.
usually once I get the Sega logo, it's good to go.
Sega.
Yeah. And I've been playing the hell out of Sonic 2.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Mine too. Unfortunately, I can't find my copy of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, the game,
Bummer.
which was my second favorite game on the Genesis.
My favorite game in all of the Genesis is Streets of Rage 2.
That's a classic.
I've never actually played Streets of Rage, even though as much as we talk about it as being one of the big things
Yeah.
about one of the things that's better on Genesis than Super Nintendo. Or
Well, yeah,
whatever
because it
classification.
was like a rip-off of Final Fight, but it was better than Final Fight.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, until you get to Streets of Rage 3.
Mm. But yeah, so that, and then now that I've found my PS1 as well, I'm gonna try hooking that up, see if it still works. While I was there, I also bought a PSP because I was told that they are very easy to modify so that you can emulate pretty much any system up to about 32-bit.
You've got all the vintage like video technologies. Now you're just getting all the vintage like video game things.
Yeah,
You got to get
exactly.
like a ColecoVision next.
I do still have a Sega Master System. No idea if it still works though because I can't find the power cable.
You have to get you have to
That's
get
your
typical.
weakness.
Yeah.
you have to get pro wrestling for the Sega Master System for the game box alone.
I have the cartridge. I don't have the game box.
Oh, with the,
the cartridges are very plain. It's literally just the name. But I do have the game Pro Wrestling for the Master System, but I don't know where the box is.
Look up the hey kids at home. Look up pro wrestling Sega Master System.
All of their game boxes are very similar. Like they all follow the exact same formula. And actually, you know what? While I was going through it, I did look up what the cover was, so I know exactly what you're talking
It's
about. Now
fucking
that
crazy.
it's silly. It is silly. Yeah. So that's fun.
Yay.
So retro gaming is in again, kids.
I went to Texas.
Yeah?
Yeehaw!
Was it bigger and better?
It was definitely bigger. I mean, and I liked, I've only ever been to Texas once before, and that was Houston. And this time around, I was in Austin.
Houston?
Yes, Planet Houston, to quote Superman 2. But it was cool. I was there for South by Southwest. I got to do some music stuff on the side, and not that I was actually like performing or recording. I'm not that good, but no, it was really fucking cool. Didn't get any queso while I was there. I feel like I missed out on. I got some Tex-Mex. Like I definitely had like Mexican, like Tex-Mex while I was there, and I definitely got like Whataburger while I was down there.
Good.
But
That's my favorite regional restaurant.
yeah.
Take that In-N-Out.
I always like hitting In-N-Out when I'm like in California, but because it's a California chain, just like
Yeah.
Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
But no, it was. I mean, it's Texas. It was weird though because like when I left yesterday, it was like 74 degrees, and when I landed in Reagan last night, it was like 26.
Yeah.
Like my body was just like, "The fuck are you doing to me?" And that's fresh off like a Seattle, Minneapolis thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my entire body just kind of feels a bit fucked. Fucked. But no, I mean, the interesting thing about Austin is it's kind of got this like old world like vibe, but there's like an art scene there, and there's like an energy there that kind of reminds me of like New Orleans, at least during the festival. But like you get all these kind of like Western, like the Capitol buildings all old, and it's just fucking cool, man. It's a cool place.
And they say it gets cooler.
Yeah, I would bundle up now.
Wait
But-
till you get older.
But I would love to go back when I have a little more time, and maybe when there isn't like an entire city, consumed by South by Southwest. Like I would love to. And I got a cowboy hat in Denver.
Yeah.
I just need to get the boots now. You're a big fan of cowboy boots.
Yeah, I used to wear a lot of cowboy boots. I used to wear cowboy boots because Bruce Springsteen did, and I wore a fake earring when I was like a child because Bruce Springsteen had an earring.
A fake one?
Yep. And I had the what is that the fucking
Bolo tie?
The bolo tie because Bruce Springsteen. It all came from the Tougher Than the Rest music video, basically. My entire
Where
wardrobe.
it starts out with him like tapping.
Da-da-da-da. It's what's the opening line? He's like, "It's Saturday night. You're all dressed up in blue," and I remember being like, "Why wasn't it white? You could have rhymed, boss."
Yeah.
But that's why he's the boss, because he didn't rhyme. That's the easy way.
Yeah.
That's a great video too.
Yeah. And I did look at cowboy boots on the cheap end.
Yeah.
They're like $250.
Well, the thing is, cowboy boots now, like, are fucking really hard to pull off because
Not if you're Ted Mosby.
if you
I'm basically
here's,
Ted Mosby.
Here's the problem with Ted Mosby. He wore the fucking boots on, like he tucked his pants in the boots. You should be shot. You should be shot in the head, possessed, and then shot again because that is awful.
Was pulling them.
No, he
off.
never did. He never did. And it's because he tucked his boots inside. He tucked his pants inside the boot. That's fucking insane. That's like walking around with jeans and tucking in your Metallica T-shirt. You look like a doofus. And having a belt on when it's tucked in, you doofus. That makes me very angry. That drove me insane on it because it's like
on How I Met Your Mother.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Anyway, I
He
think
wanted
cowboy
to
boots.
show off the
Yeah.
boot.
Have you guys done Texas before?
No,
I've landed there once and then in the airport and then
never
out.
even been close.
It's
Unless you count San Diego as close, which I don't.
I don't either. There's like 2 states in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Pensacola is closer. I've been to Pensacola.
Yeah, you just have to cross the Gulf. No, I mean, again.
Oh, no. I've been to Oklahoma.
That's the
That's
closest.
pretty close.
That's damn close, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly closer than the other two, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I got to, got some. Again, I was just mostly in a recording studio for most of it, but what I saw of Austin, I really fucking liked. So yeah, it was pretty sweet. Anyway, thanks again to Kyle Starks for coming on the show.
Yes.
Mhm.
Rock Candy Mountain. It's out April 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely check it out. This is his first ongoing series, at least his first creator-owned ongoing series, not counting his current work on Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Check that out, too, and check out Sexcastle.
Oh, definitely check out Sexcastle.
Yeah, we can't recommend that one highly enough. Or Rock Candy Mountain. If you like hobos and if you like hobo fights, you get hobo fights.
And if you want to learn what real hobos are.
And Hobo Satan. Not Hobo Satan.
Not Hobo Satan. I keep
Nah.
wanting to say Hobo Satan, but it's just Satan.
Straight up Satan.
Satan. It all comes together.
Yeah. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.